facilitate the panel. So we've got 5 vendors here. So if you can come forward, and then we will go into a discussion. So really to understand how the various vendors are helping us to adopt BIAN through the solutions and services that they provide. So thank you very much. So.
All right. Can you all hear me okay? Sort of? All right, very good. So, as we said earlier, one of the interesting, powerful features of the BIAN membership and the BIAN community is the fact that we're made up of banks as well as vendors and insurance companies and academic partners and service partners. And it provides a vibrant, example-based ecosystem that actually sort of develops and deploys and implements the BIAN standards as well. So what we have here is an auspicious panel of the vendor side of the equation, and we know that's critically important to actually accelerating BIAN adoption, because if the vendors build it, then the Lego model gets a lot easier to understand and implement. And so I'd like to just introduce a few of the people. So I'll start from the right-hand side of the stage as you're looking at it. And we have Lunga Zonke from Huawei. Welcome. We have Clive Sagadevan. Did I pronounce it correctly? Correct. All right, very good. From IBM. We have Clinton Abbott from Suntech. We have Patrick Durder from BIAN. Well, you're not a vendor, though. How did you get on stage? What's going on?
I'm also surprised I don't feel like a vendor.
And we have Fabio D'Aleva from MuleSoft, part of the Salesforce ecosystem. So welcome, everybody. I've sent a couple of questions out. Hopefully the questions are fairly straightforward and you've had the opportunity to have a look at it. But we'll just roll with those questions, and if we start to riff or go down a conversation, I'll either extend the conversation or I'll stop it. Depends on where it goes. So we'll go along. So let's just start off with, and the premise of this discussion was about AI-enabled solutions for financial services and sharing your insights on what you're seeing in the real world in terms of implementing these products or services within the banking financial services ecosystem. So let's just start off with the question about where is AI most applicable right now. And so I might just start off, and I might start with you, Lunga, just in terms of an order and a sequence. Where are you seeing AI, and how is it shaping the customer experience, or is it more shaping the back end? And where should banks be focusing in on this? And what are some examples are you seeing around AI and the adoption within the banking ecosystem?
Thank you so much. It's really excited to be here. Look, we're seeing quite a few use cases in banking, and banking, is starting to implement AI in a structured way. I think the big focus on banks is, structured AI, but also compliance and governance around AI, right? So a lot of use cases are clearly defined, and a lot of banks are, implementing these use cases like customer onboarding, customer engagements, or general fraud. What excites me with the intersection of AI and BIAN, right, is the clearly defined service domains that BIAN brings to the picture, right? Because two things now can happen. Firstly, banks can start to implement AI in a structured way, but to embed AI in all of these domains. But also the next wave is then, that cross-domain implementation, like, customer 360 view, which is all wide.
Wonderful, wonderful. Clive, I might ask you, where are you seeing AI being applied in banking today?
So I think it's changing both the front office, the customer experience, and the back office. I think from a customer experience point of view, we're seeing banking services moving from a reactive service model to more predictive service model with hyper automation. There's a lot of work. We see banks moving from AI assistance that just gives you an answer to more next best action, financial services insights, and it's becoming a lot more contextual and real time. From a back office point of view, it's moving from traditional task automation to decision intelligence. So, the traditional stuff we're doing in AML, fraud detection is there, but it's now moving into more trade finance, regulatory reporting, even liquidity optimization. So a lot of use cases both from the customer experience and back office.
Yeah, great. And Clinton, I might ask you, from a Suntec perspective, where are you seeing the workloads?
Yeah, so for us it's quite interesting. We play across multiple domains, of which financial services is one of the biggest. And we're seeing the customer to bank interaction, that's also increasing substantially. So where you see the financial services teams that are trying to utilize AI to engage with their customers, we're seeing also customers requesting certain ways that their products should be set up, the way that they want their products and services to be related with the organization, and providing that to the bank for the bank to adopt according to their needs. So where in past it was the banks talking to the customers and trying to decipher it, you're seeing more the customers coming to the bank and giving them almost like a no-code level engagement and saying, meet this objective. Then carrying on from what Clive had spoken about, from the front office that then takes that and says, within the guardrails, how am I actually managing this? The services that I am actually offering, how am I pricing that? Does it meet the regulatory approval? Does it meet my revenue protection? Any of those aspects, it can be very quickly turned around and be able to negotiate with the customer almost in real time. So the ability to have that real time, instead of going down a rabbit hole in the back office of waiting for a deal to be struck, you can actually match and meet it almost immediately. And then naturally at the back office that then looks at things like the fraud aspects that step outside of norm, real-time availability of services, and if a customer has done something out of norm, is it still within parameter allowing it? And not just trying to be like, call it that hyper protection like banks try to be. It's my money as an organization, as a company or as a customer, it's my money. I want to be able to do what I need to do with it, but still allow me some safety net. And that's where the AI's aspects are really coming to play for us.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Okay, some good examples there. I might just move on, and I might start with you, Fabio, next. And we're going to talk about talent and capabilities. We know that having the right talent, the right skills, the right knowledge, the right awareness, the right energy levels around AI are going to be important. So the question is, talent and culture remain a persistent challenge. And, as the vendor community, you're either the source of, employing a lot of AI people, or you're, working with banks and in partnership there. How do you attract the next generation of banking professionals while preserving, all of the institutional knowledge necessary and keeping up to speed with all the AI changes and developing, the training and the awareness and the capabilities within your organisation?
Thank you. So I think it's very important to preserve institutional knowledge using AI. We see a lot of use cases across enterprises having that knowledge domain, that's trusted data that can be shared internally, right? The other thing is, how do we attract talent? Things like hackathons, getting the best of the best out there, giving them a problem to handle, and seeing innovative solutions coming like that. But also, it's also important to boast about your culture, your company culture, and also show the innovation within your organization. But what have you achieved? It's something that can be passed on to the new generation. Right?
And I'm just going to riff here for a moment. Because I think Salesforce and MuleSoft need to attract this high caliber of talent. Are you seeing it difficult to attract? And I don't mean that as a question about the value of your company, but is it, how hard are you finding it now to find this talent?
Not at all. I mean, we see a lot of people approaching us, wanting to work with Salesforce, MuleSoft, and help us grow.
Yeah, terrific. Okay. Clinton, I might just ask you to just comment on talent and capability
I can
development.
definitely comment on that. What we found is actually having proper AI investment. So we've got a few $1 million that we've invested in NVIDIA infrastructure. We're running all of the LLMs so as to make sure that, like what BIAN had spoken about earlier, not just sticking with one, but understanding that this customer group needs this customer group needs that. How do we actually make sure that our product can work across all of that, allows our talent teams to actually get access to this. So, being able to play with the latest information on the latest infrastructure and test, fail, learn, that whole continuous, learning from that. It also becomes the generational, element that you start, the term that you'd use, your brand. People start recognizing your brand for that investment into AI.
Yeah. Are you having to buy the talent, or are you growing the talent? Where are you putting the efforts?
All three. So we invest in future talent. So we already people that are going into the studying domain, that they already know who we are. People that are coming out of the studying domain, that we actually bring them in already working with us. And then internally, we've got a whole program that actually makes sure that we use it all the way from executive right the way down to the junior level. So we are all held accountable on how we're utilizing AI internally, be it through training, enrichment, knowledge, transfer, any other work opportunities, because efficiency is also for us important. If we cannot give our customers the level of efficiency that they're expecting, how do we do it ourselves? So that's why we take it very seriously.
Yeah, terrific. And Clive, I might ask you, as IBM has a massive workforce, how are you developing talent and capabilities?
So I think, we need to take a step back, and with every technology shift, there's always been a nervousness around, the next generation of talent and the job profiles that we're going to, have to look at, going forward. So, we look at, there's different ways that we're looking at talent, right? So one is reskilling versus upskilling. So we're looking at an approach. Well, before that, we need to look at what is your actual company strategy. So you need to have a long-lasting strategy and make sure that your AI learning and development is not just focused on a role. It needs to have a vision in terms of what you're trying to achieve. The second one is clear communication. With this change of AI and how it will change roles within our organization and other organizations, clear communication is key. And then the empathy, you need to ensure learning and development has enough, human factor to it as well. Yeah. So from an IBM point of view, we're looking obviously in terms of reskilling. So the staff that already have skills, technical skills, how do we, bridge the gap to where we need them to do? And then we have the upskilling. The upskilling is that, and then the reskilling is taking someone that doesn't know anything about AI and then putting them on that course.
Yeah.
So it's a balance of both worlds.
Yeah, it's interesting just how much it's one of the fewer technologies that capability-wide building is required, both the business, the management, the IT. It's like everybody needs to get on board with this. It's one of the few technology ways that have come through that required everyone to be engaged on this, so that's good. All right, Patrick, I'm going to come to you next around implementation and architecture. So AI and machine learning workloads require significant data infrastructure investments. How are you seeing banks build the data architecture need to go from pilot to production? Or what's blocking people going from AI pilots to production? And is it a governance issue, a data readiness? Is it an infrastructure issue? What are you seeing, Patrick?
That's a very good question, actually, because when we're talking about AI, it's actually all about the data. And the data architecture, nowadays, what we are talking, what the regulator is actually requesting is that you can prove that you know where your data comes from, that you know when you create reports, that you know you know the lineage of the data. And so organizations are now very interested in the fact that you have your vertical lineage, which means actually how do you come from
please.
Wow. I didn't realise you could speak multiple languages. I didn't know you could mimic a female voice there. It's
Okay.
Patrick, you're so talented. Actually, I should have used that in talent and capabilities,
Is it? Yes. That's nice. That's nice. So what regulators are actually asking for is that you can make the link between your semantic models and your implementation models. The right definitions, which means actually it's all about your metadata. And what we are talking about is about the static metadata, but the static data means nothing. You have to combine it with the dynamic metadata. And now it comes, what we do with BIAN is that we're going to populate data management tools with the BIAN metadata so that it can easily be linked to the operational data, and that based on that linkage, you have actually dynamic metadata that you can use to, for example, do fraud protection or to do proposals, or to do simply also questions about regulations itself. A customer, for example, a customer who is asking, yeah, what is the regulation that is applicable when I do this investment? Then these things can be organized. And so last month, I think it was last month, yeah, we did or 2 months ago, we did populate the IBM knowledge catalog with the BIAN data so that it can be used in banks as an accelerator. Same we did do with Colibra. And so these are the things that we are going to make use of, enabling the data architecture and accelerating the data management and the data governance with BIAN.
Okay, very good. Lunga, as a provider of one of the major infrastructure providers globally with Huawei, what are you seeing in terms of, this infrastructure requirement and going from, pilot AI to production AI?
Thanks. So I mean, we're seeing quite a few things. I think we all understand, about the importance of data. But one of the things we're seeing blocking customers from taking AI to production is, structure and ownership. Right? BIAN, what it brings that structure. When you have structure, it's then easier to define ownership to the structure, both from a service domain perspective and ultimately a data perspective. Right? So once you have that data structured with the ownership clearly defined, then it becomes easier to also map, the compliance requirements, right, that are needed to operationalize and to run those AI models safely. So it's really the models themselves, but more around structure and accountability.
All right, terrific. And Fabio, comment on going from pilot to production?
All right, but before that, so what we see is a lot of customers experimenting with AI models, right? So we can swap them out. That's fairly easy. But as my colleagues were saying, if you don't get the data foundation, data architecture, and in real-time integration, right, no matter what you do, it's never going to be right? So pilot to production.
Yep.
Well, the biggest hurdle is security and governance, right? Also understanding how many agents are running in your organization. So the term shadow IT, shadow AI, right? Federated organizations spawn up numerous agents in various technology, not having a grip on those agents, not understanding where they're running, why they're running. So trying to bring that to a central repository where you can govern and secure them and monitor them. So that's quite a big hurdle.
Yeah, a great phrase I read last week was, we need to do KYC on agents, really, know your agent. Because there's a proliferation of agents going out. Everyone's nodding. All right, we've got a good topic here. It could be a white paper on this one. But it could actually be the big blocker for pilot to production.
David, can I add one extra thing? I think we're all talking about the true aspects, but the emotional aspect of trust is also what comes into play here. So I'm going to give an example. Digital banking migration. There was one report that we had to migrate across, and we couldn't actually understand what this report was doing. It had been running for 17 years in the bank. When we actually went back and checked, it was when it was migrated from physical, hard-written ledger across onto a new system that they wanted to make sure that everything was done in parallel for that first month. Nobody ever switched it off. Now, the point is, it's the same with the AI aspect. We're at a level of we don't trust it. We're going from paper-based to server-based. We're now going from human-based to AI-based. And as we build that trust level up, you'll start seeing that because you've got the transparency of your services domain, you've got the physical traceability that is in place, as you show that more and more, the trust element will increase. And I think the hurdles will become lower. The speed to get to market will be faster. And it becomes an adoption rate. The more people drive, the more cars on the road. Same situation with AI.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Very good observation. All right, we're going to move on to why should we do AI? And, I think there's a lot of people believing that it is a panacea to many ills, but we need to really understand, the return on investment for AI. So, Clive, I might start with you on this one. Despite the pressure and focus, have we seen any results yet, hard results on AI? And do you have any examples or ROI? And typically there's always, cost reduction, speed to market and risk, but are we seeing any real tangible, fact-based return on investment from AI at the moment?
Yeah, so I think it actually does touch on the previous question as well. I think one of the biggest challenges with taking AI to production is actually understanding business value, right? Trust is important, data is important, having a structure is key, but if you're not sure what you want out of your AI, trying to measure it is going to be really complex. So from a value point of view, I'll use IBM as an example where we've started the AI journey, before the 2022 kind of consumerization of Gen AI, and to date we have about $4.5 billion of saving across IT, HR,
internally of IBM.
So it's about drinking their own champagne, and a lot of that money is going back into research and development, and it goes across various domains. A lot of on the back office, and you see it published, publicly. But I think in terms of customers' success, we see a lot of customers seeing ROI on staff productivity. Cybersecurity is an aspect that they're looking at, and then also customer retention. I think there's tangible ROI that we've seen across the financial services in those spaces specifically.
And when you say cybersecurity, you mean reduced incidents and reduced cost of managing cyber?
Yes, and also predicting, and trying to preempt.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's moving so fast, you need machines to really track all of the attempts. Okay, great. Fabio, I might trip over to you. Is there any ROI models that you're seeing?
Thank you. So I'd like to make a comment. Earlier you mentioned that if you're not a software company, you're going to be left behind. Let's extend that. If you're not adopting AI, you're going to be left behind as well. So, what we're seeing is, there's a customer use case, one of the biggest banks in Spain, where we've helped them reduce the complexity of dealing with, on average, in a month, they deal with 500 million customer interactions. So you can imagine how many human teams you need to handle that complexity. So putting an AI solution in place that helps reduce that complexity and make the bank more productive and increase the customer experience is, one example that I can share from a MuleSoft and Salesforce perspective.
Yeah. Just as a broad statement, and just you guys just go across the room and let me know what you think of this question. But, are we seeing what phase of the ROI are we seeing it very quickly, or is it taking a long time to prove out? Like, is ROI going to be quick with AI?
So I'll jump in there quick. In some places, yes, depends on what the use case is. Other places, no, and it'll only be time generated. So what I mean by a quick yes is speed to train, speed to use of software is where AI really has its power. So for us internally, we've also looked as a software company, how fast can we get our new developers or configurators up to speed to be able to configure the system fast for our customers. The same way when the customer utilizes our software, how fast can they get their staff up to the same level? So the AI can actually generate and verify what is the level of success that the user actually is at. Are they at expert level, medium level, low level, and actually recommend certain training aspects that actually helps them to actually use the software more efficiently. So that's where you see quick turnaround on ROI. When it comes from a long term, that's where things like fraud management, fraud detection, anomaly detection, those types of things, you'll see it on the balance sheet, but you'll only see over time how much have you actually saved and benefit from.
Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in on it? Is it going to be fast or slow?
Yeah, I can. I want to give an example of a Belgian bank when you're talking about the rate on investment. AI actually is not something of last year. AI is already introduced 10 years ago. And when 10 years ago banks started introducing their chatbots, then in the beginning it was not going well. I'm talking about the particular example is KBC Bank and Insurance. They had a chatbot called Kate. And you could ask Kate questions. In the beginning, the answers were stupid. But nowadays, they say that Kate, that chatbot, is saving 75 employees full-time by answering questions which normally should have been asked by a call center. When talking about insurance, you fill in a crash form, you give it to Kate, and Kate is handling it completely if it is a standardized process. So an enormous rate on investment.
Okay, great, excellent. All right. Now, I just want to now pivot to the role of BIAN and AI and get your perspective as vendors and as BIAN members and part of the community. How does BIAN help your plans with AI, and what more can BIAN do to accelerate your efforts on behalf of creating the right solutions for the banks? So, Fabio, I might start with you. We might go right across the board on this one. So.
Yes, so BIAN is complementing the technology, the architectures that we see, right? With our banking customers, providing that semantic layer. The thing that we want to focus on is trusting the data, right? So BIAN providing that semantic layer, but trusting the data is also of vital importance, right? So that's something that we focus on as well.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Yeah. Patrick?
Yeah. How is BIAN?
He's conflicted.
Yeah, I'm conflicted.
Yeah, Patrick, what more can BIAN do?
But I want to give a non-banking answer. I was asked for the Flemish government to do an assessment on their data management. You know how it is, how BIAN is helping me in solving the problems over there. I use the same way of thinking, and it goes so fast to give them insight in what is going on the government's administration. So not only for banking, but also in other industries.
And actually, I just want to riff on this one for a moment, because we heard with Rita around the role of regulators and what can BIAN do to help with regulators. So I'll say two things. The first one is we have been connected with regulators and proving out the role of proper architecture in a resilient bank, for argument's sake. In fact, the first was after the global financial crisis in the Netherlands, the central bank actually said to all the banks, please tell us how you deviate from the BIAN model because we want to make sure you're resilient. We want to find gaps in that. And so we've had, I would say annually several interactions with regulators, and some of our members have said, it'd be great if you told the regulator to force us to use BIAN because that would drive a lot of adoption for us. That'd be great. But I think the second aspect is to be able to do AI properly and do the reproducibility requirement that is going to be required for a regulator. I think BIAN is going to be a silver bullet for all banks. And I think that it's going to be very quick to show the regulator exactly how your data transforms are actually going on, because you're referencing an industry standard model like BIAN here. So, great. What more can BIAN do, and how does it help?
So I was actually going to also request that, especially from a regulator's perspective. It's something that we have to adapt to as Suntec quite a lot. So things like tax regulations as well as banking regulations from a global perspective, there's a lot that's happening at country, at region, and then global. And if that can also be referenced and actually paid more attention to, and also start extending those aspects, I think it will really help the banks, and especially the multinationals, that they are also working in those environments. They also start seeing how do the regulatory components actually come to play and the transparency behind that. So being able to get regulatory buy-in, that's many times what helps the local banks in those markets, because you don't want to go through an audit at the end of the year. It's painful. If you've got the right information, you can provide it consistently to the regulator, they're going to not stick on those key items. They're going to move on and you'll have a faster audit that takes place. And also it builds the reputation of the banking market, because you've got that clear regulatory approval. You're also hyper transparent with any of the information, and they can actually come see what's actually going on in there. So I think extending of that will be very helpful for all of us.
And is there anything more you want BIAN to do in terms of showing AI readiness and adoption? Is there anything that you think, we've got, the AI readiness working group, we've got tools being developed, or, points of view, is there anything more that BIAN should do to help drive AI adoption?
I think, yes, on many aspects. I think also including vendors a little bit deeper in some of those working groups, and we can actually unlock a lot of the things. I think some of it we touched on, but we haven't been deeply involved in, and maybe we as vendors can be deeper involved. And I think it's a both side situation. It's not just commitment from BIAN to us, but us to BIAN at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's an open invitation for anybody, both on the bank or the vendor side, to participate in working groups at any point, at any time, on any topic. Typically, it's when you have a particular need. Oh, I've got a payments project, or I've got a lending project, or I've got an XYZ project. So, it can be sort of, on demand in that sense, but your participation is an open invitation to any other working groups at any point. Clive, what would you say around what more could BIAN do to drive AI readiness and adoption for the financial services community?
So I think, it's going to the previous question in terms of, the BIAN assist in AI. I think it's not a straightforward question, because, there's a lot of aspects in terms of what makes you successful in AI maturity. One of it is the, best practice or mature design principles. And I think BIAN in terms of the structure gives you that, right? So if you go down to the composable architecture, where the components have specific capabilities, and put together their service of purpose. Looking at those areas in terms of agentic low-hanging fruits. The data-driven architecture is another one where you can effectively make that your information asset, and leveraging those information assets to fast-track your AI adoption is clear. The service, the business processes, that we define, where you have clear roles and responsibilities between the process and the actors. Again, on that level, it can help an AI adoption. In terms of what we can do more, I think there's tooling that's coming out, and we've seen some of it here around how you can actually help, AI help BIAN to, go from strategy to execution quicker. And I think in terms of, how can BIAN help with AI adoption, looking at how can AI review your current BIAN, and as well some tooling around semantic searching and so on. How can we look at our current process, identify where there's low-hanging fruit in terms of infusing agentic to actually help with that process itself. So not necessarily speeding up your adoption across the organization, but to look at areas where your process might not be, or your capability might not be as mature, and then help you bridge the gap.
Okay. I think we've got some of that being baked into the application landscape mapper. But so what you're looking for is some sort of AI readiness assessment, or across the landscape to say, there's high potential there, there's low potential.
Yeah, okay, because I think, when you have it at a business domain level or service level, you can actually then pick up where you can actually get the value quicker.
Interesting. And Lunga, what do you think BIAN should be doing more, or what could we be doing more?
Thanks. So just to start with, where it's helping, right? I did mention, and we've spoken a lot about the structure, and it really complements, our offering as Huawei, because they clearly define service domains. I mean, we've got services to execute against those, like container services. We also got services like model arts that then help, customers, embed AI into those service domains and how those domains interact with one another. And where it could be better, I think it's just more on visibility, right? Because I'd like to see more customers, but also more vendors like ourselves to participate more in BIAN, and maybe something like a BIAN well-architected framework where everybody can just cross-check before part of their production readiness, just cross-check against that to ensure that they are indeed any new solution is indeed BIAN aligned.
It's a good push, and actually Rita picked up on that. It's how many people hadn't heard of BIAN or were aware of BIAN, and I think the awareness is a good one. I will say, and I'm going to speak on your behalf here, so if you disagree, you can stab me in the back, but that's fine. We do proof of concepts at BIAN where we get a bank or banks with vendor or vendors, and we actually do a proof of concept around a solution topic. And this is very, very successfully done in TM Forum, for example, and hopefully Hugo's in the room still. There he is, yeah. And so doing a project in and around a topic or a business need that you have is an absolute option that we can help facilitate or participate in, or at least introduce the concept to you. And I believe, and I'm speaking on behalf of all of you, I'm seeing some nodding, they would all participate in a proof of concept because it actually helps them get the solution definition right, but also gets them, a customer, a case study, it's marketing and it's awareness. So this is like a win-win-win-win-win-win right across the board for the whole ecosystem. And, it is a great way for you to create awareness, trying to identify whether you actually have a real business problem that you're solving and whether the solution solves that business problem correctly, and it helps the partner ecosystem demonstrate their value to you. So we would love to see more of those projects, and it's an open invitation for you to put your hand up and say, yeah, I would like to do KYC with an AI component on, in particular, and I'm sure everyone will say, yeah, we'll participate in such a proof of concept because it is part of the business model going forward. Hugo, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I'll just make a statement.
Sorry, can we just get a mic to Hugo for the people online?
Since I was called up.
So as an organization, we've been around for about 35 years now, and we've obviously done standards development like the ITU does it, all very formal and all sorts of things, but it only takes you so far. We've got a segment we call innovation, which is really about proving things rather than standardizing things. And the term we use for these projects is catalysts. So if you want to go onto our site, tmforum.org, and look for catalysts. I think we've got 75 due for our event in June. We've got another 35 for our event in September in Asia. And you can see what he's talking about, that sort of thing, the kind of things people are solving. Sometimes they are very but sometimes they are very, very important. So there's an enormous range, an enormous amount of energy as the mechanism. But look it up, TM Forum catalysts. You can just Google that. Yep. You'll get the answer.
Thank you, Hugo. Great explanation. Just to build on it, they time box it. They require you to document it. They require you to present it. And it's really a fixed way of doing it. And we would love to do more of those and follow that model very much so in BIAN. And I think you'll get a willing ecosystem to come with you on the journey. All right. And to wrap up, I might just start with Lungo and we'll go down. And if there are any summary or last words you want to talk about your company's commitment to the banking ecosystem, to BIAN, and also how that relates to AI readiness as well. So we'll go down the line.
Thanks. So yeah, I mean, we really are committed to BIAN, and the role we play is to give you the digital infrastructure to execute those BIAN domain-aligned services, and then to also give you that AI services and infrastructure, right, to train your models and to manage your entire model lifecycle with features like explainability, right, which also helps with trust.
Terrific. Clive.
Yes, I think IBM has been part of the BIAN board for a long time. Shankar represents IBM on there. So we have a lot of activities at the global level. In terms of closing off, I think we need to always remember why we want to use AI and keep at top of mind the ethical framework that we want to put in place as an organization. Being in a financial institution, financial inclusion is important. Understanding where we want to use AI and what responsible AI is very important. So let's keep that in mind.
Terrific.
And from our side, AI first. It's something that we've taken very, very seriously. It's something that we are seeing that the financial services, as well as our other verticals, be it in digital communication services and taxation, are really needing. And being able to work with our partners as well as with our customers to say, this is how we're working with standards, this is what we're seeing across multiple standards, be it TM Forum or within BIAN, and how can we work together to actually go on down this journey, because it can be scary if you don't have the right people around you. And I think having the right people, which is led by BIAN in the front, with all of us being there support, I think it's something that customers can overcome very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And we are not going to make the progress as an industry, as a banking industry or as a financial services industry, unless the vendor community come along that right. And that's a joint connection and a productive connection that I think BIAN leads the model in globally. Patrick.
Yeah. My company is actually breathing BIAN. We're continuously developing and
Sorry, Patrick works for Envision, by the way, and he contracts to BIAN. So when he says his company, he means Envision.
Yeah. So that's a little bit weird, of course, that I'm sitting here, but we're a small company. We're dedicating our employees nearly full time on developing BIAN, but also on enabling BIAN to be implemented into different organizations. So that's what we do, nearly 100%.
Yeah. Oh, so you actually up here as a vendor, not as BIAN. So
yeah,
that's
it's either a productive connection or it's a
yeah.
confliction.
You see, that's a problem of data classification.
Okay, Fabio.
Yes, Salesforce is part of the BIAN work groups, so we actively contribute to the POCs and the standards. And from a MuleSoft perspective, we were speaking about composable architecture, API-led architecture. We have the BIAN assets within our API registry or catalog with implementation templates. So we actively help with implementation, whether we're cloud agnostic, and yeah, so we actively help to implement those standards, whether it's TM Forum or BIAN.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, I think we're right. Look at that. We finished right on 000. Right on 00. So thank you very much to everybody on the panel. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, David, and to the panel. So really, and amazing, you kept the room full of people and 70 people online still. Yes. But thank you very much. Thanks for your insights. And thanks, David. So I've prepared a long 15-minute reflection on what happened today. So what I just want to ask, so instead of me trying to be clever here, so I want somebody who's been here for the third year just to reflect on what was your experience today, and then two who's here for the first time. So Ravin, if you can just get a mic ready also. And then online, if there's maybe one or two of you also just want to comment. So this is just a few words, and just to conclude the day. I did ask my AI agent or co-pilot just to summarize the day for me. And the 3 points, if I can remember it, that was highlighted is firstly that in Africa with BIAN we're going from theory to execution, and I think it was really visible or what we heard in some of the presentations. Secondly, the whole AI-ready concept and how do we make sure that BIAN is AI-ready and that we start to adopt it. And then the third point was around the adoption of BIAN is really through incremental use case-based approach. So I think that was, so I don't know if that was hallucination or whatever, but that was the reflection from Copilot. So, but yeah, maybe somebody who's been here for 3 years now, just if you can give a reflection about Copilot just in your own words. So, Puvan, I'm looking at you.
I was actually thinking, I first came across BIAN in 2010. And at the bank at the time, it wasn't Standard Bank. It was a very difficult sell. And when we had a conversation in 2020, I think the change in those 10 years was we found a way to get BIAN into an organization, which was the APIs. So you've got to find something that's topical. So we read the API wave to get BIAN into Standard Bank. And I think the next opportunity is really AI. And the significance of BIAN to AI, I think, is more pronounced. Your ability to execute is going to be greatly enhanced if you BIAN ready. And it's kind of weird because typically BIAN should be a top-down approach. And I saw initially people are trying to get to grips with it because it's very theoretical. But doing it in reverse makes actually a lot more sense. So if you actually start with the AI journey and work backwards, well, what we're finding now, we started with APIs, but now people are using the thing for analysis. We're using it for capabilities. We're using it for classification. We're starting to look at it for BI and MI. And it's kind of weird, our journey, and what I've seen at the conference over the 3 years, it was the first year is, what the hell is this thing? The second year is like, okay, I kind of get it and I kind of like it. And now we're talking about tooling and stuff that you can actually feel and use. But it is back to front for me. In a normal world, this should have been top down. This is the way we want to approach things. This is the framework. This is the standards. Go and execute. But we've done it the other way. And for people, I think that are new to this, the opportunity, and I think Dave was also talking about it. The funding is now in the AI space. But really, it's largely around what the hell was this thing? Okay, cool, I kind of get it, and now we're doing stuff.
Okay. Thanks. So Puvan has got another model, the front door, back door model. So he always has got something with the door you're using. So Carla, I'm just looking at you. So Carla's over there with the pink. Just your reflection. I think it's your first year here. So yeah.
I think it was just a very exciting event to attend. I'd heard about BIAN really the first time at the Enterprise Architecture Forum, which we hosted, and some of the Standard Bank people like Rizwana, Tony came and presented. So to see everyone coming to present today, including Rita all the way from Uganda, I think was very, very exciting to see all the work that's been done, to see the uptake and how so many people have attended online, in person, made the effort to come all the way. I think it was a very worthwhile event, and I think it's going to grow further and further. So.
Thanks, Carla. And then I'm looking at Kathy here, just to get another bank. So Kathy is from First Rand.
Thank you. I also thought it was very exciting. I think we're trying to get going, and seeing so many presentations here today of people who've actually made use of BIAN and are seeing value is exciting and encouraging. And it's not just that it's something on paper, it's actually being done. And I think seeing the use cases or the people presenting was excellent. So thank you.